Welcome to Project Money with me, Elion Mendoza. We're here to discuss all the money stuff that school didn't teach us. Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. Today I want to discuss 5 common questions that a lot of people are too embarrassed to ask. With that said, if you're too embarrassed, most likely a lot of other people feel the same way. So let's do a quick dive. I'm going to go over each question briefly and then make future content for each one of these going into further detail. So, first question, what is a credit score? A credit score is a number that ranges between 300 and 850. The higher the number, the better. Your credit score is one of the factors lenders use to decide how much money they want to lend you and how much interest they want to charge you. The higher the credit score, the more money a lender is willing to let you borrow and for less interest. The lower the credit score, the less money a lender is willing to lend you, and typically they're going to want to charge you a higher interest rate. A good credit score typically starts in the range of 670 to 739. A very good credit score is typically in the range of 740 to 799, and this is where you need to be in order to get competitive interest rates. And finally, a great credit score is typically in the range of 800 to 850. Your credit score is primarily based on 5 key factors. The first factor is payment history, which accounts for about 35% of your score. This means that regardless of how much you owe, making your payments on time helps boost your credit score. The second factor is the total amount owed, which accounts for 30% of your score. Your total amount owed is based on your credit utilization rate, meaning the less you owe from your total available credit, the better. In other words, someone who owes $1,000 on a $10,000 credit line scores higher than someone who owes $1,000 on a $3,000 credit line. Ideally, you want to keep your utilization rate below 25%. Meaning you don't want to owe more than 25% of your available credit. The third factor is length of credit history, which accounts for 15% of your score. This one is pretty self-explanatory. The longer you have credit history, the better. Having credit history for 7 years is better than only having a 1-year credit history, and having 14 years of credit history is better than 7. The fourth factor is credit type, which accounts for 10% of your score. The type of debt you have is scored differently when calculating credit scores. For example, installment credit is more favorable than revolving credit. Installment credit refers to debts like mortgage, auto loans, and student loans, whereas revolving credit refers to credit card debt or personal loans. Finally, new credit, which accounts for the last 10% of your score. New credit refers to the number of new credit applications you submitted. It doesn't help your credit score if you applied for 5 credit cards in the last week. It looks very risky to a lender. That said, if you're shopping for a mortgage or an auto loan and submit multiple loan applications, there is a built-in grace period where those multiple loan applications don't hurt your credit score. Okay, on to the next question. What is a 401k? A 401k is a savings plan offered by many employers for the specific purposes of helping you save for retirement. You essentially contribute money from your paycheck into the 401k before taxes are taken out of your paycheck. Some employers will also match a certain amount of your contribution, typically between 3 to 6%, but I have seen employers who match much more, and I've also seen employers who don't match anything at all. The advantage of a 401k is that you contribute money into them before taxes are paid. They grow on a tax-deferred basis, and the money is yours when you leave your employer. If you're a high-income earner and need to find ways to lower your taxes, a 401k can help you lower your taxable income while saving for retirement. However, there is also a downside to a 401k. If you take funds out before retirement age, which is currently 59.5, you're going to owe taxes on that withdrawal and an early withdrawal penalty. Really, a 401k is specifically for retirement and should not be used for emergency expenses. Now, 401ks are specific to private sector jobs. If you work for a government, state, county, or local agency, you most likely have a 457B, as that's the public sector equivalent of a 401k. If you work in education or a nonprofit, you may have access to a 403B, which is also an equivalent to a 401k. Finally, if you work for the federal government, you most likely have access to a thrift savings plan. You don't need to worry about the specific number or letter, as these relate to the specific place in the IRS tax code. All these accounts are essentially referred to as defined contribution plans. Okay, on to the next question. What is an IRA? IRA stands for Individual Retirement Arrangement. And yes, it's arrangement, not account. You can look it up in the tax code. IRAs are similar to 401ks in that they help you save for your future retirement. But IRAs are not tied to your employer. You own the account under your own name at a financial institution of your choice. Within IRAs, the two most common are the traditional IRA and the Roth IRA. The traditional IRA grows on a tax-deferred basis, meaning you don't pay income tax on the amount you contribute into the account, and you don't pay taxes on the growth. But you do, however, pay taxes when you take distributions in retirement. Roth IRAs can grow on a tax-free basis, meaning you don't get a tax break on your contributions today, but in exchange, it grows tax-free, and you can take tax-free distributions in retirement after having met a few simple conditions. For 2021, you can contribute up to $6,000 to an IRA and $7,000 if you're over age 50. It's important to check contribution limits annually, as these limits do periodically change. Okay, on to the next question. How much should I save for emergencies? A good amount to strive for is 3 to 4 months of expenses. Depending on where you are in your financial journey, you might have this covered already, or it could seem like a daunting task. If you already have 3 to 4 months, I encourage you to push for 6 months of expenses. If 3 to 4 months seems daunting, break it down into smaller, attainable goals. For example, my primary goal would be to save 1 month's rent. 1 month's rent can buy you a few weeks' time in case you lose your job or you can't work due to a temporary emergency like a pandemic, for example. And finally, the last question, how do I budget? I'm going to eventually make a full video on this, so I'll try to keep it short and to the point for now. There are many ways to make a budget, and different people recommend different percentages for your expenses. To keep it simple, I would start by taking a look at the 50-20-30 budgeting method. It's a quick way to make your first draft of a budget. Once you have the first draft, you can dive deeper into a more detailed strategy, but this is a good starting point. The 50-20-30 method breaks down as follows. 50% of your income can be allocated to your necessary expenses, such as your mortgage or rent, transportation, bills, groceries, gas, insurance, and anything that is essentially a non-negotiable in your life. 20% of your income can be allocated to savings, investing, and future endeavors. 30% of your income can be allocated to whatever you want, fun, friends, trips, etc. The reason I think the 50-20-30 is a good place to start is that it helps you get your expenses organized and it provides you a lot of leeway. In the future, I'll go more in depth into the process of making a budget and a few more things to consider. Now, if you made it this far and stuck to the end, I hope it provided a little bit of value to you. Depending on where you consume content, please subscribe, follow, like, or heart this video. You can follow me directly on Instagram at elion.mendoza. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.